All right, we're rolling. Welcome everybody. This is Cloud Provider vSphere bi-weekly Syncup meeting. Today is July 18th, 2018, and we anticipate a short meeting. We have a small agenda. We canceled last meeting because of 4th of July holidays. So we have some new things coming from SIG Cloud Provider, and we have a bunch of things that have happened during this time frame for Cloud Provider vSphere. Given that the attendance today is small, I'm going to share my screen and show the notes so people that are watching the recording can benefit from actually looking at the text here. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so we have an update from SIG Cloud Provider. SIG Cloud Provider has moved their meeting from the week of July 4th into the week after. So they didn't skip the meeting. They actually moved that. They pushed everything back 1 week. So right now the time we're having this meeting is actually skewed by 1 week with SIG Cloud Provider, so we're no longer in sync with them. So I'm actually considering rescheduling this meeting, given that right now we're having this meeting in the afternoon Pacific time, which is late night in Europe. Given we have people from Europe usually joining the call, I will love to have it rescheduled to a time slot that is more friendly for European, myself included. So I will actually float a couple of date and times on the SIG VMware Slack channel, so we can vote on it, and I'll make sure I'll communicate broadly the decision when I make the change. Ideally, I want to have it in a time frame that can fit at least Pacific and Central European. That said, another interesting update coming from SIG Cloud Provider is we got an overview from Chris Nova that is leading this Cluster API effort on this new Cluster API. Cluster API is a project that is incubated under SIG Cluster Lifecycle, and the aim of the project is to have a way to easily provide lifecycle services for Kubernetes clusters, which means that we will have a way to bootstrap clusters and manage nodes and manage Kubernetes resources using this tool. Cluster API has some overlap with the cloud provider work. There's a little bit of overlap, but it's also requiring cloud providers to have their own provider. So we need to provide plumbing work for example, for vSphere to create new nodes, to provision new VMs, to delete VMs and delete nodes in the Kubernetes clusters, and so on and so forth. So we're actually thinking about sponsoring the work under SIG VMware for this, and is actually an item on the agenda for tomorrow's meeting. So if you're interested, please join. Another interesting thing coming from SIG Cloud Provider is there's pull request out, which is linked here, 2275, part of which is to amend the current structure of the KEP 002, which is the one that regards the cloud providers, but also trying to point a way to move the current code that is in Kubernetes core for cloud providers under staging, which means that it's basically a way to tell people using Kubernetes and people developing in Kubernetes that these packages are on their way out. This is obviously a move that is basically going hand in hand with the fact that we're trying to get rid of the vendor-specific code inside Kubernetes. This is just a PR that is out there, still up for review. So feel free to see what's in there and feel free to comment. It's nothing dramatic. It's just like a small stepping stone, but it's potentially an important one because it will mark the real beginning of this slow process of removal of code from Kubernetes core. And last but not least, there's a quick update on the proposed beta and GA status for Auto3 cloud providers. Right now, Kubernetes 1.11, which was released a couple of weeks ago, is now the first release that has cloud providers as beta features, which means that we're in the beta stage, in the beta phase for cloud providers, for Auto3 cloud providers. So right now, the interface should not change dramatically going forward. It will. It has to be stabilized as much as possible. And in the issue that you see here, there's a tentative date for GA, which is pointed to Kubernetes release 1.13 or 1.14. Still hasn't been decided yet. This is not the deadline where we will have to have all the code removed from Kubernetes core. This is merely the release where we want to have support for Auto3 cloud providers to be GA, which means fully supported. So please review that if you're interested in the timeline. We anticipate to start removing code, I would say 10, 12 months from now, start removing code from inside Kubernetes core. And that's pretty much it for updates from SIG cloud provider. And going to vSphere, cloud provider vSphere, we actually have some code out there that is up for review. There's a big PR, which is the CCM prototype. So this was created earlier this week. We have a pull request, which is still a work in progress. So it's up for review here. As you can see, it's a big one. It is a working implementation of a CCM that can run only on master nodes, and it is compatible with Kubernetes 1.11. So if you're interested in trying this out and start looking at the code is ripe for optimization. There's a lot of things that can be done better, and some of the things are actually errors that we have to fix, like this code duplication scattered here and there. So if you're interested in trying out this code on your Kubernetes install on vSphere, please do. It will be very helpful if I can get some reviews, some eyes on this. Very beneficial, so we can have first part of the code base in there and merge this one maybe next week, so we can have something we can start iterating on. And something that goes hand in hand with this PR to be merged is that we need to have CI up and running as soon as possible. We had some folks from VMware, Hui is chiming in to help with this task, but there are two relevant tasks here that are number 8 and number 10. So these two issues here are basically to set up the initial part of the CI. So setting up a CI job to push the images for the actual cloud provider to Docker Hub or any other registry, really. We're just trying to find the right place to store them for now. And also number 10 is to set up unit testing for CCM code. We do have hooks into Prow, Tide, and Test Infra right now for the repo. So the repo is actually calling Tide and it's reporting back status, but we don't have any job that is actually running when we send a PR into this repo. So it will be great if somebody wants to join and chime in and help Hui in driving this out of the door, because this would be a very nice first stepping stone to actually have a complete dev test cycle. Because right now we're just testing manually, and eventually we will have also a physical vSphere environment where we can test our cloud provider against. Right now, We have a mixture of unit testing and using vCSIM as a simulator for vSphere. We can do some end-to-end using a simulator instead of a real environment. So I think we're off to a good start. We just need to iterate on this more and more and get to a point where we can actually have something that's properly tested whenever we send a PR in with code. And that's pretty much what I have for this week. Any questions from the people here?
No, I think I followed it.
Cool. Unfortunately, I guess that this week has been problematic because of the shift in time. I'll make sure to follow up and reach out to the people in the Slack channel to make sure everybody is on par with the new timing once we decide on the new time slot, and make sure we get more people to attend next time. If there are no questions, we can wrap up early and give everybody 10-15 minutes back. Okay, going once, going twice. All right. Have a good rest of the day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.